Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Patrick Phillips, and I'm going to get this webinar started. That's me. I'm Patrick Phillips. I'm the founder and CEO of American Business Systems. And I'm also the chairman of the board of MIRMA. That's the Medical Revenue Management Association of America. I'm also on the editorial board of BC Advantage Magazine, BC Billing and Coding Advantage Magazine. That's a in-print publication, 40,000 subscribers. And you can go out to Amazon and find my 3 books that are out there: How to Reprogram Yourself for Success, The New Thriving Medical Practice, and Cash Crunch for Cash Flow. Now, let me just start by telling you something I've never shared on one of these webinars. This is a picture of my wife, Linda, and me, of course. We'll be celebrating our 50th wedding anniversary next August. And that's my son, Adam, who's now the president of the company, has 3 children of his own, and Sarah, my daughter, who has a little daughter of her own as well. They're still involved in the business. Believe it or not, we're one of those families that can work together and not kill each other. So I tell you that story because we've been around for now 23 years. So if this is your first time on one of our webinars, welcome. We're just going to share some information with you today. There's nothing to sell at the end. We don't ask for your credit card. We just ask if you're interested in our business to continue doing your due diligence, and I'll give you some guidance on that as we go along. This is me and my wife here just a couple of years ago in my office, and so yes, we've aged over the years, and my wife is still not involved in the business right now. She does some traveling. She works with some women's organizations here locally in Keller, Texas, where we live, and she is just a real supporter of all that I do in staying busy here in the business. What we do is we teach people how to use our cloud-based medical billing system and electronic medical record system to actually help doctors with their revenue. We also have several other services that you can offer to doctors that will open doors for you and make you additional revenue, so you have multiple streams of income. We also do live training. I'll tell you a little bit more about our workshop here towards the end of the webinar, but at the end of that workshop, you're actually certified as a certified medical revenue manager by MIRMA. And so you can find out more about that by looking at mirma.org, the website itself. All we're asking you to do basically is to join us. It's not a franchise, it's a business opportunity package, training and support that we sell, and ask you to plug into the largest network of medical billing companies in the United States. That's us. So let's get started today by talking about the revenue cycle management market. This article that was released by PR Newswire, as you can see, says that it's going to be worth, well, I'm going to enlarge this so you can actually see the quote itself. Here it is. It says, let me see if I've got a little tool here that I can use to kind of circle that or highlight it. Let's see if this works here. Yeah, so it says that the global market is projected to reach US dollars of 80 billion by 2021. That's what, 17, 18, 19, 20, 4 years from now, basically. And it's currently at 45 billion. So folks, look at the growth rate of this industry. If you're going to get into anything, you want to make sure that it has a growth rate that looks something like this one here. Now, during the webinar, by the way, I'm going to ask that you type in questions in that same box where you typed in your name and your city, state. Cliff is here today. I see he's from Greenville. And let's see, I think I may read Mary. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to delete all of those comments, and we'll just go right to the questions as you type them in there. And I'll just be paying attention here on the screen as I see you type those questions in. So first of all, it's a good business to be in. Are you convinced of that just from this one quote here? You should be, because that is a huge amount of money. Now, what I'm going to do is now go back to get my little pointer thing here. Yeah. And I'll talk to you here just a second about, oh, I think I had to clear all the highlighting there. There we go. Okay. So there's where you type it in. It's in the question box, just like as you typed earlier. If you want to type in some questions, I'll be looking for those as we go. Let me talk about the top 10 challenges that are facing doctors. Here's why this is a great business, folks, because doctors have some challenges in the next year. And I'm going to touch on a few of those during the webinar here and kind of talk about those with you so you can wrap your brain around why it would be good to get into this business rather than open that Subway sandwich shop that you've always wanted to open, working with teenagers 80 hours a week. So here's the first chart I want to show you. And you know, it just dawned on me, this is from Medscape Lifestyle Report 2017, and that chart's not big enough, is it? I'm gonna make that a lot bigger here, and I guess I gotta get rid of this thing here. Okay, now look at this. Here's what they found out, talking with doctors. They said there are too many bureaucratic tasks, 5.3 on the Richter scale of people who are, you know, responding to this. And as you can see, a lot of them said that they were spending too many hours at work. That was the second big thing that they did not like about being a doctor. Feeling just a cog in a wheel, some of them said. Increasing computerization of the practice with electronic health record systems. Income not high enough. Oh, there you go. That hits right at home, right? We can solve all of these problems actually, but that one we hit right a nail on the head. We can increase their revenue sometimes 25, 30%. That's right. And we prove that to them on reports that you can provide for them. Too many difficult patients, some of them claim. Insurance issues, we can take that away from them, of course, because we have a system that actually deals with the insurance companies electronically. Maintenance of certification requirements, lack of professional fulfillment, threat of malpractice. Not much we can do about that, of course, but to keep them certified and compliant with some of the rules and regulations. Too many patient appointments in a day, difficult employer or colleagues, that's if they work for somebody else, and of course the impact of the Affordable Care Act. So we don't know what's going to happen with that Obamacare, but something's going to be changing about that. We're in the post-Obamacare era, and whatever changes about it, folks, the doctors are still going to need your help no matter what. As long as there's patients who get sick, who go to the doctor needs to get paid, somebody has to bill somebody for the doctor to get paid. That's you. So here's some other challenges that they face this coming year. Front and back office challenges. Look, first of all, they deal with the practice management system that they have now, currently, whatever that is. It's not as high-tech and leading edge as ours is. The scheduling, the EHR, those are not integrated. Ours is completely integrated, all in one, all cloud-based too. You can access it from any computer, anywhere in the world that has an internet connection. Managing the patient wait times, we can actually help with that, as you'll see when we talk about the scheduling that you can do inside of our system. Excessive hours spent on eligibility checking, we do that in real time on our system. Patient statements, that's all generated automatically with the push of a button. Appointment scheduling and confirmation, that's built in to where they can actually access that part of our system if you give them, you know, the ID and password to it, and they can actually do all their scheduling for patients in that system. Then, of course, pulling the records and charts, we can show them how to take all of their papers that they have in their office and make them electronic and searchable. And, of course, all the new patient data entry that they have to do. We're going to show you how our system, using our cloud-based system, can solve all of those problems for the doctors. And so that's the first challenge that they face. Now let's talk about those electronic health record, or sometimes referred to as electronic medical record challenges. According to the American Medical Association, it says, according to the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, the average cost to adopt, implement, and or upgrade their health IT, that is the technology part of a medical office, is $54,000 per full-time equivalent physician. Now think about that for a minute. For every full-time physician that's in that office, it could cost them an average of $54,000 to get upgraded to the latest technology that they need to do electronic health records, while the annual maintenance costs average about $10,000 per physician. Folks, you're going to see when you get involved and dig a little bit deeper that with our system, they don't invest near that kind of money. I'm talking about 1/10 of that money. And they actually end up with a lot better system than they have now, of course. There's upfront and recurring costs for their electronic medical records. There's lack of integration with the practice management and the billing. That's all integrated with ours, of course. There's always their cumbersome charting and record sharing. We can do all that electronically now with our online document management system. Lack of documentation during the audits. We can have all of that records available to any auditors that come in from the government. 100% of the time, so they're ready for those audits. Over and under coding, we can show them how that you, using our system, can help them to code more accurately and thus not undercode and leave money on the table. Lab integrations with missing lab results. That's a big problem for doctors. We solve that because it's all built into our electronic health record system. And of course, the new macro data and penalties. Now, folks, that is one of those things that has to do with doctors now being paid based on the quality of their care, not just the time that they spend with patients. Macro, you can Google that and look that up and find out more. Hey, by the way, I have a printout of all of these slides, and I'm going to stick that right now in the handouts section. If you look over there in the control panel, you'll see that appear here in just a second. It should be available right now, and that is all of these slides in a PDF that you can download and look at that at your leisure. All right, let's talk about another challenge they're facing. Just plain old claims and billing challenges. Folks, most doctors have a high rejection rate. I'm talking about lots and lots of money. Now, I'm going to show you something here that is an email that I just got, and I don't think there's anything in here that you probably shouldn't see, but this is very timely because one of the licensees sent me an email, and I'm going to share that with you here. Look at this. Let me see if I can share that with you. Okay. The fellow's name is Peter. He says, wow, this is terrific and so timely. He's talking about the new book that we just came out with. I'll show you here in a moment. He said, I had coffee this morning with the wife of an OB-GYN. She mentioned how she and her husband were talking just last night about how his practice is experiencing 30% rejection and denial rate. Literally, that number, that's the number that we say on these webinars, and he heard that himself from the doctor. She went on to mention how they were having dinner at a gala tonight with a surgeon friend that's also looking for ways to increase his cash flow. The fact that Dr. Ratner, who's a co-author of the book I showed you earlier, is a surgeon will resonate with that person. Anyway, he's going to be trying to get him, the licensee, in front of the OB practice owners. They have 16 doctors, 11 mid-level like practice, patient assistants, and of course the surgeon. So anyway, I just wanted to show you that, folks, because as you can see, there's a real need out there. If they have a 30% rejection rate, just think about that. That means they're leaving 30% of their money on the table, probably writing it off on their taxes at the end of the year. Believe me, any doctor would rather have that money in their bank account than to write it off at the end of the year. The days to payment is usually 30 to 45 days. We can get that down to as little as 14 days on average with our system. There's a 15% revenue leakage, which are the orphaned claims that never get filed. The coding changes and update costs that they face, folks, we can solve all of those problems because you don't have to know anything about coding. The codes are all built into our system. Remember, it's a cloud-based system, so it's updated 24/7, so that every time you log in, you're looking at the latest codes, and it helps the doctor choose the correct codes even. And then, of course, there's lack of transparency and integration, or both. Folks, you can give access to the doctor to our system so he can see in real time the status of his money at any point in time. That's unlike what they're probably dealing with now. They can't even get that information out of their own staff, much less if they're using another billing service. So we can solve all those challenges. Then there's the patient AR. Now look, this little quote right up here is too tiny. I'm going to enlarge that here just so you, oh, that didn't enlarge it, did it? Well, anyway, here's what it says. Physicians typically collect only about 50% of outstanding patient balances, resulting in almost 60 billion in bad debt annually. Now, what they're talking about there, folks, is that the patient who don't have insurance, or maybe they have a portion that they need to pay, the doctor's not collecting but about half of that, according to this McKinney and Company survey. All those high deductible plans are increasing the leaks that are there in the office, of course. The practice owners want flexibility and control, and lack of automated and configurable payment and collection options. We have services, some of those that I showed you earlier, those ancillary services that you can offer to doctors, solve the problem of patients' payments and collections. We can collect, get this, not 50%, but up to 98% of that money. And we're not a collection agency, and you don't do any calling or bugging patients. This is all an automated system that does that. Coding and audit pressure. The government comes in every once in a while and sends in what they call auditors that audit a medical practice to find out if they're over coding. And that means they're using codes that pay them more money than they should be coding. Our system keeps that from happening by suggesting the correct codes that will fit the particular diagnosis for that patient. And we also have services that can come in behind that and solve that for a doctor and protect him from those audits. The documentation must match the coding, that's correct. Our system makes sure that happens, of course, because it's all done online through the cloud using an iPad. The doctor can just make sure that everything's matching. Audits from both government and commercial payers are sometimes held there in the doctor's office. By the way, with no notice, they just walk in and say, "Hey, we're here to audit you." And most doctors' offices are not ready for those audits and can be fined up to $10,000 per infraction. Yeah, that can hurt real fast. They're subject to those audits just about any time, of course, and it leads to undercoding leaks. Now, that means that the doctor sometimes, to be safe that they're not overcoding, they undercode. Well, in that case, they're leaving, again, sometimes 20, 30% of their revenue on the table because they didn't code correctly. We can solve all of that with our system. All right, then there's compliance concerns. A fact is that HIPAA violations, that's the Health Insurance and Portability Act, that actually is protection of the patient data. Those violations inside of a doctor's office can cost a practice anywhere from $100,000 to $50,000 per violation or per medical record, and up to $1.5 million a year. Yeah, you can go read that on that website there, hhs.gov, and it'll tell you the details about that. Now, again, I mentioned earlier that we have services that can solve all of these problems. And again, we don't have time on this webinar to go into each one of these, but be sure and go back to our website and research what these are all about. We go into detail on some of the additional materials that you'll get if you actually register there on our website and give us your name and email address. We'll send you some detailed information about these services. Or you can just ask the person who sent you the email inviting you to this webinar. That's what we call your business coach, and they can guide you and tell you about each one of these services. All of them open doors that might not be open for you otherwise if you were just doing medical billing. And they add additional revenue, of course, on the back end, so you have multiple streams of income. This is one of them that protects against the audits that we just talked about, Audit Guard. And by having this in place, we can guard the profits and reduce the errors and keep the doctor from worrying about those audits because he will have documentation that he's been carefully monitoring what his codes should be. Here's another challenge facing doctors: retention of patients and marketing. Now, you know that most doctors don't advertise. That's not because they couldn't if they wanted to. It just doesn't seem proper for them to do that, to advertise for patients. But we can show them how to increase their patient base and retain their current patients. Most of the time, it's just a lack of time for marketing the practice. They don't have the time to know how to do it. They don't know how to obtain new patients. They don't know how to show patients that they currently have their appreciation. And of course, using social media and reputation management, we can help them to position themselves as the practice in the area that patients should go to. There's lost staff hours on appointment reminders and patient engagement. And again, we can solve all of those problems with our ancillary services. I should say you, American Business Systems, doesn't do any of these services directly with doctors. We work only through our licensees. and have for the past 20 years or so. Some of the compliance concerns, like I said earlier, the providers face mandatory audits, and 70% of the covered entities are not compliant. Now that means the people who work for the doctor and the doctor's vendors and labs and other people connected to that practice sometimes are up to 70% not compliant. We found that through surveys. And they have a lack of mechanism for tracking the compliance. We can help with that because we have services. Well, let me go back to that slide and I'll show you one right here. Compliancy Guard is one of them right here. I think I've got that in the next slide too. But let me increase this, this chart here so you can see this a little bit better. You're going to be shocked at some of the fines that the government has fined doctors. These are real cases, by the way, from HIPAA's website. They fined one doctor $475,000. Another doctor, $2,200,000. Here's another one, $3,200,000, $5,500,000, and so on. Folks, this means that in 2017, HIPAA actually fined $17,093,000 to doctors, and we can protect the doctor from that. Oh, I see some questions coming in, so let me see what those are. Clifford has asked a great question here. It says, do you have to be licensed or certified for coding or billing? No, the only certification that you need, Clifford, is what you get at the end of our week of training here in Dallas. You'll be able to do billing for any doctor, any specialty, anywhere in the United States. And Clarence is asking if this is being recorded. Yes, we always record these, and we'll place this out on our website under our blog. Clarence, it'll be there probably in a couple of days. And let's see, Harper is asking, what is the typical size of practice that your system targets? Well, what we teach our licensees in the live training class, Harper, is to go after doctors' offices from 1 doctor up to 50 doctors. Now, we've had licensees sign up groups bigger than that. But if you ask me what the average number of providers are in our licensees, it probably averages around 6 to 10. So most people keep their billing company fairly small. They're happy if they replace their current income, and some people just don't have the goals that other people have to build their business up. Now, I do have licensees who are bringing in 7 figures, but that's the exception. It's the old 80-20 rule. 20% of our licensees are doing 80% of our business, and the other 80% are only doing 20% of our business. So that just happens to work out that way in most things in life. Okay, I see another question here from Alan. I'm going to move on to the next slide here first, Alan, if that's okay, and we'll talk about that Compliancy Guard. This is the service I mentioned earlier, folks, that actually helps the doctor stay compliant with the HIPAA rules and regulations and all of his staff inside of his office. So again, wished I had time to go into all the details about that, but go to our website. There's information there about every one of these services. This is screenshots of Compliancy Guard and how it works. And as you can see, it too is a cloud-based system that you offer to the doctor that keeps them compliant and gives them all the red, green, and yellow lights there and charts to determine whether they are being compliant with the government rules and regulations. Now, here's a big challenge for doctors. Oh, sorry, that was the #1 rule, right? Turn off your phone. That's staying motivated to practice medicine. Believe it or not, that's a big problem for some doctors. Look, this quote here from Medical Economics says, like everyone else, doctors want to enjoy their work, but they're finding it harder to do so. Physician professional dissatisfaction has been steadily growing in recent years, driven by increasing workloads and the frustration at being unable to spend sufficient time with their patients. Now, folks, imagine what you're offering to a doctor here. The doctors who are actually doing the billing inside their own office. They have basically allocated people and resources and computers and software to do that billing. If you take that away from them and out of their office, now you can reallocate, the doctor can reallocate the time that his staff is now spending on those tasks with helping the doctor see more patients and spend more time with the patients. So we can reduce their workload in the office by taking all that away from them and give them the time to do what they do best, which is, of course, help patients to get well and stay well. One of the ways we do that, by the way, is by educating the doctor using this book. Now, we just published this book. Dr. Vicki Ratner, a retired general surgeon, and I wrote this book so that we could help doctors to, well, as the subtitle says, get off the hamster wheel, work smarter, not harder, generate more revenue, and enjoy greater career satisfaction in the post-Obamacare era. Now, folks, this book is on Amazon for $24.95, but you'll be able to buy this book from us at our printing cost. It only costs $4 to print this paperback book. And here's the great part about it. You can't see this real close, but I'm going to enlarge this so you can see it. Down at the bottom of this book, look real careful. I got to enlarge it quite a bit here for you to see this. Look at this. Right underneath my and Dr. Vicki Ratner's names can be your name. Right there where you see Susan Smith can be your name. She is a certified medical revenue manager. You'll be able to put that right there after your name on your letterhead, your business cards, on this book. And what that means is that you have written the foreword to a book that a doctor has written. Now, when you give this as a marketing gift to a doctor, remember, they want to hear from other doctors. They like to hear from their peers, right? And so they're hearing from a doctor, Dr. Vicki Ratner, and they see your name right there on the cover of the book. When they open it up, they'll see your name on the cover page and at the end of the foreword. Now, the foreword is just a generic foreword that we've written. It can actually be altered any way you want to, but notice the important thing right here. Look at this. Right at the end of that, we put your name, your company name, your phone number, your email address, and your website. So all your contact information is right inside the book. Folks, from a marketing standpoint, from a credibility building standpoint, it just doesn't get any better than this. And that's all a part of your license, of course, becoming a licensee of American Business Systems. Now, I'm going to get back to the questions here before they stack up too high. Let's see. Here's the one that I mentioned earlier from Alan. What separates the successful purchases of your system from those that do not succeed? Who is liable for the security of the patient's medical records on the cloud? Okay, so two different questions, Alan. Let me address the first one. What is it that what separates the successful purchasers of our system? It's real simple. Those people who go through our training and are not as successful as we'd like to see them, you know, they fall into that 80% that only does 20% of our business. Those people just are not able to follow our system and believe that what we tell them actually works. If they go out and do what we tell them, and we give about a dozen different ways to find clients during that week-long training, they will build their business. Now, if they're working part-time, they might build it slower than somebody who's been building full-time, but the real thing that separates them is that, Alan, of being able to follow our system step by step and just do what we say to do. It's proven to work for 23 years, and if you do that, you will be successful. All right, Guy says, how much time does it take to put together information for the audits that take place? Well, those audits, by the way, by the government that are done in the doctor's office, you don't have to do anything to put anything together there. Now, you could help out if you wanted to, but remember, we're providing a service that protects the doctor from those audits by having them do things ahead of time. And it doesn't take much. Usually, all the auditors want to do is to see 50 of the doctor's patient records, their folders for the patients. And that just takes the time to pull those folders and give them to them. What they want to see, of course, is that the doctor has been following all the guidelines. If it has to do with coding, of course, that they've coded accurately and not over-coded. And if it has to do with HIPAA, of course, that they've been compliant and all their people have been compliant. We have, again, services that help with all those things. These are great questions, guys. Keep them coming. Okay. Now, Dr. Ratner just came out with a new book called The Myth of the Rich Doctor. And the reason she did that is because, having been a doctor for many, many years and seen thousands of patients in her practice, she knows that doctors are not making the kind of money today that they thought they would be. So the reason this resonates with doctors when you give a copy of this book to a doctor as a marketing tool is that they know that it is a myth, that doctors are not all rich. Now, some of them, of course, make fairly good income, but to them, that's not rich. Maybe they make $200,000 a year and they thought they were going to make $500,000 a year. So that's why it actually resonates with them when we give them a copy of that book. James says, how to succeed if I have to maintain a full-time job at the same time until my business grows? Well, James, I'm glad you asked that, because we have licensees that I've interviewed on our website, on our webinars here, that will tell you how they did that they built their business while holding down a full-time job. Believe it or not, it is possible to do that. We've got all those secrets worked out and can share those with you during the workshop here. Just trust me that you'll see that during the workshop, and since we have a money-back guarantee at the end of the workshop, if you don't think you still can build the business, you just ask for all of your money back, and we give you a full refund. Oh, here's a great question. Swarna says, can we build dental doctors? Well, yes and no, Swarna. First of all, why would you want to do that? There's very few dentists compared to doctors, and they don't do near the volume of business. Plus, their billing system is a completely separate system from what the medical doctors use to bill with. You've got to deal with x-rays and all sorts of stuff. So it's not near as easy to do. Now, having said that, if you get into this business, and remember, we don't teach dental billing, but we have access to dental billing systems that you could use if you wanted to. So the answer is yes, you can do those, but we don't encourage it, and we don't support you in doing that. I tell people, look, go out and sign up every doctor in your area, and once you've done that, then go after the dentists that are out there. I know it sounds like there might be a market there, but it is very, very small amount of money. We just don't encourage that at all. Mary says, marketing is my fear, 2 exclamation points. Will we receive marketing tips and training for contacting physicians? Mary, I mentioned earlier that we do teach about a dozen different ways to get the doctors, but we've done specific webinars on that topic. Go to our website, absystems.com. You see at the bottom of the screen there. And then look for, under our news tab, blog. When you go to our blog, you can actually search that for topics. There's a search box on that screen there for our blog. And you can look for marketing. Just type in the word marketing or how to market to doctors. And you'll see all sorts of webinars there that you could take a look at. I think that would solve and ease your fears about that. Billy, our license fee, I haven't mentioned that because, well, again, you may be new and you haven't gone to our website and found this out yet. But this is like a franchise. It's a $26,000 license fee that we charge, one-time fee for the training, all the marketing materials, over 2,000 pieces of marketing material, and of course, lifetime support and access to our cloud-based system. So it's an opportunity is what it is, a business opportunity. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to move on here as the questions continue to pour in here. Here is a quote from Dr. Ratner's book, The Myth of the Rich Doctor. Listen to what she says here. Physicians in private practice, something I've mistyped that. It's not a good wording, is it? Anyway, they walk away, is what that's supposed to say, from an average of 30% of their incomes when they do not follow up on rejected insurance claims. Outsourcing your medical billing could bring claim rejection rates to as low as 2 to 5%. Now, folks, our nationwide average for our system for denials, rejected claims, is less than 2%. So we can take them from 30% down to less than 2%. Then she ends up by saying, this may be the fastest and easiest way to increase your cash flow. That's from her book for doctors that you can use as a marketing tool. So they're hearing from a doctor. Here are the ancillary services, by the way, that we're talking about here. And folks, we do show in every one of these services how the doctor can increase their revenue or reduce their costs. So I tell people this is like, you know, it's like selling popsicles to, you know, people in the Sahara Desert. It'd be pretty easy, right? When doctors are presented the report that you will generate from our software after doing an analysis of their practice, when they see that report and the bottom line shows that they're going to increase their revenue by $100,000 plus, believe me, it does all the selling for you. And that's due to all these services here having solved those problems for the doctor. The real key advantage to ABS over other systems and other billing companies that are out there is illustrated here, folks, by these four things. iClaim is, of course, our practice management system that you will use to do the billing. It also has the scheduling system built into it, and you can give access to the doctor and their staff just to the parts of it that you want them to have access to. Then there's the electronic medical record system that the doctor and staff will actually use when they're interacting with the patients themselves. They'll be holding their iPad right in front of them, just like this, looking at the doctor and the patient and tapping a few buttons on their iPad, and that puts it right into our electronic medical record system, which of course is tied to the iClaim practice management system. Remember, it's all one system. We just call it different things to identify in your mind the differences. Then, of course, the real unique part of our system is that we're the only system that's out there that has the clearinghouse built in. This is the claim scrubber and that actually does the submissions to the various insurance companies and the government agencies. So clearinghouses are a very important part of starting a medical billing business. But if you have to set them up on your own, believe me, it's a nightmare. First of all, you have to vet them and find out which one do you think is the right one. And then you have to do a ton of paperwork to get set up with them. And then you've got to hook everything to your system. And folks, all that's built into our system where you don't have to do a thing. When you submit a claim in our system, our clearinghouse, built-in clearinghouse, is going to scrub that claim, get it down to less than 2% rejection rate, and forward it on to be paid. Then I don't want to leave out the patient portal, folks. We have a patient portal. You may have used this with your own doctor, but the doctor can give his patients or her patients access to the patient portal, and with the right credentials, any patient can log in and manage their own medical records and all their appointments and all their prescriptions. Everything is built in right into that portal. They can also set up payment plans if they need to pay out what they owe the doctor, and there's all sorts of advantages. So folks, I encourage you to see a demo of the system. Just ask the person who sent you this email or call us and say, I'd like to see a personalized demo of your system. And we'll get online with you and walk you through that step by step. There's lots of reasons why you and the doctor's office should be using iClaim and EMRX. This chart just illustrates some of those. Folks, we've given a lot of thought to it. It's the most affordable, customizable, integrated system that you'll ever see, all certified, of course, and ready to go. The doctor will be thrilled to be able to use an iPad doing everything that they do in front of the patient. I don't know if you've sat in front of a doctor when the doctor's got a computer behind him or her, or maybe even a laptop that they bring in and they're not looking at you, right? With an iPad, you can face the patient and actually do what you need to do right there with the iPad in front of you. Okay, so let's see here. I'm just keeping track of the time here and the questions. Here's Jai, I hope I'm saying that right. Maybe it's Jay. How soon after the class do you have access to the marketing materials? The brochures, the books, the EMR systems, everything. Well, it's pretty simple, Jai. As soon as we get your paperwork and your license fee, all of that is sent to you immediately, even before you come to the live training workshop. So you have access to everything instantaneously. Yeah. Okay, and he goes on to say website development, business cards, contracts, all of that's available through our licensee website. And I don't think I've shown that to anybody here lately. Let me see if I can open up a browser here and actually show that to you. I think that'd be interesting for you to see this. All right, I'm switching to it here. And I've got to find my control panel here to switch you to that, but here is what it looks like. Yeah, okay, so you're looking at the actual website that you'll be given credentials to log into. I think I have to actually type something in here to get it to fill in. Oh, there it goes, filling in by itself. Okay, and we're there. We're actually logged into it right now. Look, here's the news section of it. If you've never seen this before, guys, you can ask for a demo of this too by one of our business coaches. You'll notice we go way back in time. 2014, October 2014 is when we set this up, and we continually post new things. Look, here's one on December 12th, right here, December 6th. Here's November 28th. So constantly putting new stuff in here, all the stuff you'll have access to immediately as soon as your paperwork is received here in our office. So you'll be able to read about each one of those services, all the marketing ideas and videos. Folks, these are just filled with tons and tons of information. You just can't imagine how much is out here. Every page has documents you can download and videos that you can watch. We've put a lot of time and resources into this. You've got everything you need there right on this one site. So let me encourage you to get with your business coach and say, hey, I want to know more about all the stuff that's out there. There's lots there to cover. Now I got to get you back to our slides here. Here we go. Okay. Let's see. Here's Charmaine's asking, do you have any franchisees in Michigan? Charmaine, I'm not off the top of my head. I don't think of anybody's name, but then I don't keep up with that as much as some of my other staff members. You'd have to ask again the person who sent you to this webinar to look that up and see if that concerns you. We don't oversaturate any area. I can assure you that your territory is the entire United States. So you don't usually have to worry about that. We've never had any two licensees run across one another in any city that we're out there. Let's see. Jai is asking what clearinghouse is used for claim submission. Well, the best I can tell you is it's us. We and our technology partners provide that behind the scenes and have been for 23 years. So it's the iClaim system that has that clearinghouse built into it, Jai. Rodney says, do we as a licensee give the doctor the iPad? Well, yes, Rodney, we show you during the training how to work that into what's called your setup fee with the doctor. And so you can just bill that right into that and include that. Sometimes licensees include 2 or 3 of them if there's several doctors in the practice, but you're not out anything. The doctor's actually covering that with the setup fee. Let's see, this is Jai again. Is Claim and EMR compatible to a behavioral health provider for them to make notes like progress notes and treatment plans? Yes, Jai, I'm not specifically tuned into the behavioral health providers, but this does have the ability to dictate notes so that the doctor can put those notes in by either typing them in or dictating them. Yeah. Mary, the live trainings are scheduled about every 6 to 8 weeks. From the last one we did until the one in January is 8 weeks, but usually they're a little bit closer together than that. The next one is January the 29th. Okay, here's Clarence asking about the in Georgia with saturation as well. Again, Clarence, I'd just be guessing, licensees that are in Georgia, but we can look that up for you. Get with the person who sent you this email to this webinar, and we'll be glad to do that for you. It's just kind of hard for me to do that on the fly here because I don't have access to our database right now while I'm doing the webinar. Okay, this is just another illustration here for what our system does and how it works. The patient can go to the patient portal, set up their records there. The doctor uses the EMR system in seeing the patient. All that's put into our system, of course, automatically behind the scenes through the cloud. You go into the system then and actually submit the claims to the clearinghouses, the insurance companies, and of course the doctor gets paid directly from them. You're not involved in the cash flow of the doctor there at all. Okay, these are just some of the certifications of our electronic medical record system. One of the things that you'll want to find out is if the EMR has actually been approved and recommended by various medical organizations, and ours is. Again, download the slides in the handout section here of GoToWebinar, and you can actually blow those up and on your screen and look at some of those certifications. I know I went by pretty fast there, but we're kind of running out of time here, so I'm kind of wrapping it up. Again, we do live demos for you. Now that means not just for you personally, but for your prospective doctors, as many of them as you wish. We, our staff, I have people who will do these demos live with a doctor. Takes about 45 minutes to an hour, depending on how many questions the doctor has. They're looking at it on their system. You can be looking at it on your system or in the office with them while they're looking at it. And all you have to have is your paperwork ready for them to sign up, because about half of all the doctors that see these demos that we do for our licensees end up doing business with our licensees. So it's a pretty sweet deal when we do all the answer all the questions for you and do the demos for you. We want the doctor to see the technology that's behind what you're going to do for them. I mentioned earlier there's no territories, so you can have doctors all over the United States. We've got some of the slides that I showed here before the 4 o'clock hour were of licensees that you saw have licensees in various states. If you sign up a doctor in Georgia, for example, they may know a doctor in California and can refer you to them. So you don't want to be limited by that. By the way, if you want to check us out as a company, American Business Systems, just go to the Fort Worth Better Business Bureau. Type in Fort Worth BBB American Business Systems, and you'll probably find the page where you'll see that we have an A+ rating, which of course is their highest rating. You're also welcome to visit us down here. This is a picture of our office building. You're welcome to come. Just let us know you're coming, and we'll pick you up at the airport if you fly in. And come meet all my staff and ask all the questions you want. We'll sit down with you and help you feel as comfortable as possible. And no, we don't close you at the end of that. We're not trying to get your money. We will always let you make that decision to move forward. So that's your decision and nobody else's. Hey, by the way, I mentioned the money back guarantee. I want to put it on the screen here so you can see it. If you've not seen one of these before, I mentioned this on every webinar. If at the end of the training workshop, for any reason you don't think this business is right for you, simply tell any staff member and they'll arrange for you to receive a full refund of your license fee. Now, folks, that means that you need to pay your way down here, drive or hitchhike or get a plane and come down here. It's a Marriott hotel. We have very special rates for it, so it'll cost you about $700 for the week. And that's very little to invest, right? You can get every penny of the money that you've given to us back if you don't think this is right for you. So you'll notice there's no weasel words in that. It's pretty straightforward. So the one that's coming up in January, by the way, is already about a third full. Folks, these fill up very quickly. Don't wait till the last week or two. Get your due diligence done and your funding. Work with your ABS business coach to get all your paperwork done, and we'll get you a login to our website that I showed you earlier, and we'll get you all the marketing materials shipped right out to you within a couple of days. It's held here in Dallas at a Marriott hotel, just north of the Dallas DFW airport, literally within minutes away. The hotel will pick you up with one of their shuttles. The classes are Monday through Thursday, 8 to 5, and Friday, 8 to 1. We let you out early on Friday so you can make it home that night. We provide lunches for you, and the licensing fee does not include the travel or the hotel, as I mentioned earlier. Yeah, so, hey, we have another webinar next week. If you liked this one, I'm going to go into detail about starting your healthcare business and what it takes to do that, and you'll be hearing from some of our actual licensees. You'll learn from the experts, the ones who've actually been through our training and built successful businesses. Don't forget the handout today in the handout section there, and I'll address some of the questions that are still here as we wrap up today. Yeah, so I'll put that back up. There's our phone number, and let's see what other questions are coming in here. Swarna says, is there any monthly charges for iClaim and EMR? Not to you, Swarna, that's to the doctor. So yes, the doctor will have some monthly access fees to the system. you always build that into, and some licensees build it into what they charge the doctor. You'll be charging a percentage of the money that you collect for the doctor through our system. That's somewhere around 6 to 8% usually. And you can rack that into that if you want to. It's very, very little amount of money compared to what you're collecting for the doctor. Billy, we don't have installment pay plans, but we do have some information on our website there about helping you find the funding for this. A lot of ideas and sources. Get with the person who sent you the email sending you here today, and they'll send you some more information about that too if you want to find out about that. Jai says, are the live demos based on specialty or just information about the system offered through ABS? Jai, they're actually for the doctor's specific specialty. When you fill out the form on our website to arrange for that demo, you're going to tell us what specialty that doctor is, and we'll make sure to specialize and tweak that demo for that particular specialty. If he's a podiatrist, for example, we'll talk about things specific to podiatry and so forth. I think that was your question. James says, how do you compare to your competitors in software, clearinghouse, and product? James, let me be honest with you. We don't know of anything that's as high-tech and as leading edge as ours is, that has all the certifications and awards that our system has, that has a clearinghouse built into it. We don't know of any other system like that that's out there. So we think that we are the best. Having said that, you're not selling software, of course. It's your service. And we're going to teach you how to position yourself as the expert in your area to help the doctors with their revenue. And you'll see there's no selling involved in this. It's all a matter of getting their information, finding out what their pain is, and helping to come back with a proposal that says that you're going to solve that pain for them. Okay, let's see. Kevin says, how can we find out how many private practice doctors there are in our area? This sounds like a strange site to send you to, but there is a website out there that has a way of looking up by zip code the number of doctors that are in your area. That is U.S. News and World Report. Now, if I had time right now, I would go try to find that for you, but just put that in, Kevin, U.S. News and World Report medical doctors or something like that, and it should come up. Okay, well, folks, we did pretty good here. We got 5 minutes, so I'm going to show you a little video as we wrap up here. This is something that some of you may never have seen, and it has to do with our opportunity itself and how you can offer that to doctors. So enjoy.
It's been said that no job is finished until the paperwork is done. Nowhere is this more true than in the field of healthcare, where the volumes of paperwork are so huge that some medical professionals report spending more time filling out forms than treating patients.
On a day-to-day basis, practicing, I have a ton of paperwork. I have charts that have office notes from patients I see. I have follow-up lab reports, test reports to the right people. So a lot of time is spent not only seeing patients, but doing the paperwork that goes along with that. So probably for every hour I see patients, I'm spending at least 30 minutes worth of paper.
Doctors say one of the most tedious and time-consuming tasks for any medical office is dealing with the paperwork from insurance claims.
The complications of trying to do your own billing are greater than anything we do in medicine. It seems like with over 30 different insurance companies that we probably bill from, not even including our uninsured patients, there's absolutely no way. You don't have a chance.
To combat the problem, many medical practices and healthcare facilities are seeking help by outsourcing medical billing.
When medical providers outsource their billing, it makes them and their staff, of course, more efficient. It frees up their time so they can spend more quality time with their patients. And of course, it increases their cash flow, which is what it's all about. And for the patients, of course, the patients are getting to spend more quality time with the doctor and the staff because the doctor and the staff are not having to spend all that time filing the insurance claims and doing the paperwork up front.
Recent mandates by Medicare are already forcing doctors to move to some form of electronic claims processing. But many practices say that dealing with the bureaucracy and constant changes in codes and procedures makes this a daunting task. Outsourcing seems to provide one solution.
The process for the Medicare billing is, with the electronic claims, is very difficult unless you outsource, because to do that in your office takes a lot of time, takes a lot of money to buy the software to do the electronic claims. So you pretty much have to outsource to save yourself money, basically.
From a billing standpoint, I have outsourced my billing. This allows me to not have to provide the overhead of an individual that I would have to pay to do my coding, do my billing, make sure that we're compliant with all of the regulations from Medicare and the other health insurance companies.
With the first wave of baby boomers reaching retirement age, it is predicted that over 70 million seniors will be in need of health care by the year 2030. As a result, the Bureau of Labor Statistics predicts that medical billing is poised to be one of the next major growth industries.
According to age researcher James Coughlin, he says that the spur of baby boomers will increase over the next few years and generate new technologies and new innovations in the healthcare system. And he also goes on to say that every 7 seconds there is a baby boomer turning 50 years old.
Outsourcing of medical billing to legitimate and reputable firms may make the healthcare industry more efficient, while at the same time provide a unique business opportunity to many entrepreneurs.
Medical billing is a great business to get into right now because in the United States, there's over 3 billion medical claims filed every year, $25 billion spent filing those claims. And so for people who are trained properly to go out and actually do that for the doctors, it is a wide open opportunity.
Basically, the reason I chose to get into the medical billing profession is when I decided I wanted a home-based business. I wanted control over my time and my money.
I decided to look for something that was compatible with the skills that I had, and medical billing fit those particular needs. I've been doing medical billing for going on 4 years, and I've been very successful at it. As a matter of fact, I'm successful beyond my wildest dreams. I didn't think I would be where I am today. I didn't start this business with the attitude of becoming big, which I've gotten. I started this business with the attitude of just doing something 2 or 3 days a week. So it's blossomed into something much more than that.
The future of medical billing is all going paperless, which includes both electronic medical records and medical billing. And this is why it's such a great idea to get into medical billing now, because it's so easy to do, and this is the way of the future.